Okay, picture this. Two friends, Jake and Marcus. They've both made what they think is the smartest investment of their lives. One buys a house, the other buys stocks. We're going to follow them for the next 20 years to see who really comes out on top. And let me tell you, the answer is probably not what you think. Now, for this whole experiment to work, we've got to make it a fair fight, right? And that's exactly what we've got. Jake and Marcus are basically financial twins. Same 50 grand in savings, same salary, same age, living in the same city. The only variable here is what they do with that cash. So Jake, he decides to go with something he can actually see and touch. He takes his $50,000 and uses it as a 20% down payment on a rental house. He gets a mortgage, finds a tenant, and boom, right away, he feels like a genius. He owns a physical asset. Now, Marcus, he goes a totally different way. He's all about that simple set it and forget it life. He puts his entire 50 grand into a stock market index fund and sets up a small automatic monthly contribution. No tenants, no leaky faucets, just a line in his brokerage account. All right, so the race is officially on. We're going to follow this whole story right from the start, through the bumpy first few years, the surprising middle, all the way to the final verdict in 20 years to see how this all shakes out. So yeah, the stage is set. On day one, Jake has a house, a tenant, and a great story to tell at parties. Marcus has, well, a confirmation email. In the feeling good about yourself department, Jake is winning, hands down. But as we all know, feelings and math are two very, very different things. You know, for the first couple of years, Jake is on top of the world. The rent checks are rolling in, he's building equity, he can literally drive past his investment. He feels like he's crushing it. But, well, napkin math tends to leave a few details out. So let's look at the numbers he's seeing. Over 3 years, Jake collects nearly 65 grand in rent. After his mortgage, he's left with almost $17,000. That sounds fantastic, right? I mean, that's about $470 a month just for owning a house? Or is it? Yeah, but then real life happens. You know, the stuff that doesn't show up in the brochure. We've got to subtract the property taxes and the insurance. Oh, and the water heater that died and that leaking roof and the month the house sat empty. And that's not even counting all the hours Jake spent dealing with all this mess. And boom, just like that, that amazing on-paper profit pretty much vanishes. After you factor in all the real-world costs, Jake's actual profit over 3 years is closer to $3,000, not $17,000. That's a massive gap between perception and reality. So while Jake's been dealing with all that, what about Marcus? Well, his initial 50 grand plus his little monthly deposits has just been sitting there, quietly growing to about $76,000. The time he spent on it? 0. No frantic calls about a leaky roof, just a number on a screen steadily ticking upwards. All right, let's fast forward a bit. We're at the 10-year mark now, and this is where things get really interesting, because we have two totally different, powerful forces starting to flex their muscles. For Jake, it's leverage. And for Marcus, it's compounding. So leverage, this is Jake's secret weapon. See, he's not just making money on his own $50,000. No way. He's making money on the entire $250,000 house. And most of that is the bank's money. So when the value of that house goes up, who gets to keep all that profit? Jake does. That's the mind-blowing power of leverage. And then you have Marcus's superpower, compounding. It's a much quieter, sneakier force. For the first few years, it honestly feels like not much is happening. But then, the money his money earned starts earning its own money. It's like a snowball rolling downhill that starts small, but eventually becomes this unstoppable avalanche of growth. And so after a decade, get this, it's pretty much a dead heat. Their net worth is almost identical. I mean, how crazy is that? But, and this is a huge but, look at how they got there. Jake put in hundreds of hours, took on all this debt, and had all his risk tied up in one single building. Marcus, he spent 0 hours, and his risk was spread out across the entire market. Okay, here we go. The big reveal. The moment of truth. 20 years have passed. We've had repairs, rent checks, market crashes, market booms. So who came out on top? Let's see the final numbers. And the winner is, well, would you believe it? It's basically a tie. I mean, look at those numbers. They're both in the exact same ballpark. After 2 decades of two completely different strategies, there is no single runaway winner based on the money alone. And that brings us to the most important part of this whole thing. Yeah, they ended up in a similar place, but their trips were totally different. Jake actively worked for his money. He was a business owner dealing with debt and tenants. Marcus, on the other hand, he just waited. He played the long game, enjoying liquidity and diversification. And what this really shows us is that asking which one is better is kind of the wrong question. It's not just about the final number on a spreadsheet. It's about figuring out which of these journeys actually fits your life, your personality, and what you're willing to put up with. Look, let's not downplay real estate. The arguments for it are huge. Leverage is a total game changer, period. You get these awesome tax breaks that stock investors can only dream about. And for some people, owning a real physical thing that spits out cash every month, that just feels right. You're building a real business. But then you flip the coin, and the case for stocks is just as powerful. I mean, it is the definition of passive growth. Compounding does all the work while you sleep. It's so simple to start, you're diversified from day one, and if you need cash, you can get it in a few days. It's freedom, pure and simple. So, let's circle back to the big question. Who won, Jake or Marcus? Well, the real winner isn't a person. The real win is in the lesson we learn from their story. Because here's the thing. The real trap isn't picking the wrong investment. Choosing real estate isn't a mistake. Choosing stocks isn't a mistake. The real mistake, the trap that gets so many people, is making a choice based on hype or a gut feeling without ever really running the full numbers. So the next time somebody tells you with absolute certainty that one is just better than the other, you'll know what to ask. You can just look at them and say, did you include everything? Because as we've just seen, the only answer that really matters is the one that accounts for the whole story.